Jerusalem, Judea, AD 33. The Jewish Passover festival had just finished, and apart from a suicide and a few crucifixions, everything seemed normal, which was why it was so surprising when something weird happened. My name is Monday, Maxwell Homicide Dragnet Monday Jr., and this is my associate Cleopas. We're private investigators. The day in question started like any other day. I was sitting at my desk in my downtown Jerusalem, down alley, down corridor, third door on your left, and mind the rat's office, reading the newspaper.
Hey Cleo, what's a 7-letter word beginning with M that stands for the anointing of God?
Don't call me Cleo.
Where do they get these questions?
Things were proceeding as usual, slowly, tediously, and with seemingly no connection to any form of income, when suddenly the doorbell rang. Even then, I knew this was going to be a long day.
Thomas called Didymus to see you, Max.
Send him in, please, and bring us some coffee.
Yes, sir.
That's the grumpiest secretary I've ever seen.
Good morning. May I call you Didymus?
Just call me Thomas, and don't touch me.
No respect when you're a private investigator. How may I help you?
I wanted to hire the best private detective in Jerusalem.
So you came here?
No, I went to the best private detective in Jerusalem. He was busy, so I came to you.
How about you sit down and tell me your problem?
A friend of mine named Joseph of Arimathea has had a situation with one of his tombs over the weekend.
So he's an undertaker?
Actually, he's a member of the Jewish Council, the Sanhedrin. He just runs a little funeral service on the side, which brings me to the problem. Grave robbers.
The kind that break into tombs and steal the treasure buried with the dead people?
Exactly. Only these guys, whoever they were, weren't interested in treasure. They took the body.
That's different.
Well, the man that was buried there was different.
King Tut?
No, a man named Jesus. Jesus of Nazareth. What was that?
I think the doorbell's gone haywire again. Jesus, yeah, I came across that name in the deceased list in this morning's paper.
You can read?
For your information, I was reading the political section at the time.
It looks like the comp section.
Political comics.
Charlie Brown.
Charlie Brown can be very political. Anyway, this guy was crucified, right?
Right, on Friday.
Friday. That means we don't have much time to find the body and identify it before PU.
So you better get practice.
Hey, when do we get paid for this?
Not until I can put my fingers where the nails were and my hand in his side.
Ugh.
I'll be wearing gloves.
Why do you care so much about this dead guy's body anyway? Who was he to you?
Let's just say I care and leave it at that. You should start by questioning the soldiers who are on guard outside the tomb.
Roman soldiers were guarding the tomb and it still got robbed?
Talk to them, not me. Yikes.
Next time, you're doing this.
After our executive briefing, Cleopas and I went straight to the scene of the crime, Joe's Buy, Grave, and Save funeral services, and proceeded to the tomb with the vacancy sign lit up. There, we found several Roman soldiers running madly about, bumping into each other and looking under rocks and bushes, trees, garbage bins, you name it. They looked like soldiers who would have had their heads cut off if they didn't find whatever it was they were looking for, and I had a pretty good idea what that might be. We caught up with one of them to get some answers.
Hey, have either you guys seen the man in here about so high, kind of dead looking?
Sounds like the guy we were looking for, too. My name's Monday, and this is my associate, Cleopas. We're private investigators.
Pilate didn't hire you, did he?
The Roman governor, no. Why?
Maybe it's not yet. Maybe it was his time. Hey, you! Try that big urn over there.
Nothing here but dust. Nothing here but dust.
Keep looking.
Hey, sir, how about telling us what happened?
There's nothing to tell. 1 minute the body was there, the next minute has been stolen.
So you were sleeping on duty?
Sleeping? Are you kidding? Do you know what Power would do to us if we were caught sleeping? Do you know what Power would do to us now?
Hey, take it easy. Calm down and just tell us exactly what happened.
All right, we're keeping watch of the tomb, right? Then all of a sudden, this giant man shows up with his dazzling white robe. He was about 10 feet tall with this radiant glowing face. Then everything went black.
Did he hit you?
No one, everything is black.
Did somebody else hit you?
No one hit me. This guy scared the sins off me and I fainted, okay? You happy now?
Chicken.
Let's keep this professional, Cleo.
You know I hate it when you call me that.
What about your friends?
Same story. We're all out cold. Look, all I know is that we regained consciousness, the huge boulder had been rolled away, and the tomb was empty, except for these bandages. And me and the guy got some heavy explaining to do.
That's a pretty big stone.
This was a pretty big guy.
You say you were stationed in front of the tomb to guard it. Why? And by whom?
The governor.
Pilate.
Yeah, but I got the feeling someone else put him onto it, though I don't know who.
Did he say why he needed you to guard it?
He heard some people come to steal the body, so he stationed us here to guard it.
A pretty good plan, in theory.
What do you make of this?
Looks like a visitor's log.
Hey, you guys can tell that's evidence.
He's right. This should go straight to Pilate.
On second thoughts, what about you hang on to that? And here's some things too.
I think I found something.
What is it?
A 50-cent coin. I found it inside this sarcophagus. The undertaker must have leaned over and...
Will you get back to work? Don't I remind you what happened if the governor finds out about this?
There's an entry written in this morning from a JC.
Oh, really? Did he leave a tip?
I am the way, the truth, and the life.
The soldier didn't give us much to go on. Our next logical step was to find that guy that he had described. So Cleopas and I started checking out places where a rough guy like that might hang out. We entered a local tavern and walked up to the bar.
Excuse me, you guys.
Yeah?
We're looking for a man. Big guy, about 10 feet tall, dazzling white robe, glowing face. You seen anyone like that?
I don't know. We get a lot of people through here.
You must have seen or heard something.
Nope, nothing. You might want to try the temple, though. Most of the people wearing fancy white robes hang out there.
All right. Hey, while we're here, how about a drink?
Aren't you guys on duty?
We're private detectives, not police detectives.
Private eyes? You mean we've been wasting time talking to you gumshoes when we didn't even have to?
No respect when you're a private investigator.
Anyway, we can't give you a drink. We're all out. Local vineyards were called the Hold Supply. Seems some of their wine traders had foot fungus. Contaminate the whole shipment.
Well, that's just great.
Hey, we can't turn water into wine, you know. Who do you think we are, Jesus of Nazareth?
What did you just say?
Foot fungus.
No, the part about Jesus of Nazareth.
You didn't hear? He was the guy who went around doing all these amazing miracles. I was bartending at a wedding a while back where we ran out of wine. Jesus, he was at the wedding, right? He asked me to fill 6 big jars with water, draw some out, and take it to the host. When I drew the water, it was wine, and not the cheap stuff either.
Impossible. Who was this guy?
A lot of people say he was a prophet sent from God.
I met him at a big picnic on the lake. Never seen so many fish sandwiches in my life. There must have been at least 5,000 men there, plus women and kids.
What kind of people? Religious types?
A few of those, but mostly fishermen, tax collectors, women, children.
Even prostitutes and occasional private investigator.
But I thought he was a religious guy. Why would he hang around those kind of people?
From what I heard, he didn't care too much for the religious heavies. Called them hippopotamuses or something like that. Said he liked people who did things for God and not for show. If you ask me, that's why they killed him.
Thanks for the info, you guys.
Hey, are you guys sure you don't know anybody who's some way connected with this Jesus?
Well, there's Mary.
Who's Mary?
Just someone I happen to know. Jesus had a pretty big effect on her.
Really? What's her address?
It's right there.
Cleopas and I looked down and saw, scratched on the bench, the words, "For a good time, see Mary," followed by an address.
Why would a religious man be seen with a woman like this?
I don't know, but this is on our way to the temple. Let's stop by and check it out.
We headed in the direction of the temple, but stopped a few blocks beforehand at the address we had found at the tavern. Cleopas and I walked up to the house and knocked on the door. We were promptly greeted by a modest-looking woman who invited us to come in, no sooner than we introduced ourselves. I suppose you have to be a private investigator to understand our surprise at this, but suffice it to say, I have never before been so well received and welcomed by anyone in my entire professional career. And I'm including my mother.
Excuse me, ma'am. I hope you don't take this offensively, but we're looking for a woman who used to live here.
I've lived here most of my life.
Well, then you must know her. It was someone who used to live with you. Not that I'm suggesting such a person would live with you.
What he means, ma'am, is we were at a bar on the other side of town investigating the case of Jesus when we saw a carving
Jesus,
on
you
the.
say? Jesus of Nazareth?
Yes, we're looking for Mary.
I'm Mary. What would you like to know?
You?
That's right, but you should know that since that was written on the bar, some life-changing stuff has happened to me. And it's all because of Jesus. But what would you like to know?
How did you come to meet him?
Just the facts, ma'am.
Ooh, I get to say that next time, okay?
Okay.
I remember it as clearly as if it were yesterday. Half of the religious types had caught me in the act of sin. That is, in fact, they were about to stone me for it. But instead of doing it right on the spot, they dragged me through the streets and into the synagogue and threw me in front of this young teacher.
Jesus.
I don't know why they chose him when there were loads of other rabbis in the place, but they did. And they said, "The law of Moses demands this woman should die. What do you say about it?" I thought it was done for, but then it happened.
What?
He stuck up for me. He said, since they wanted to kill me for my sin, the one without sin should throw the first stone. Then they started walking away. The older ones first, and then the young ones, until the place was completely deserted, except for me and Jesus.
Wow.
Then he said, "Isn't there anyone left to condemn you?" "No one," I said. Then he said, "Right, I have decided not to condemn you either. Go home and stop sinning." He forgave me, a poor harlot, and him, a religious teacher. I never saw anything like it.
What did you do?
Just as he said, I went home, stopped sinning, and followed him ever since.
Thank you, ma'am.
Just the facts, ma'am.
No, you've got to say it at the beginning.
Says who?
Says everybody?
I'll say it when I want to.
Cleopas and I left Mary's house and shortly after arrived at the temple. No sooner had we walked in than we noticed a guy in fancy robes hurrying into a room with something tucked under his arm. We were about to question him when we heard a voice behind us.
not there.
Why not? That guy's going in.
He's our high priest. He's the only one on that part of the temple.
It looks like he's taking in a sewing kit.
We're having a little difficulty with one of our curtains. How may I help you, gentlemen?
We'd like to ask you a few questions about Jesus of Nazareth.
Ah, you come to the right people. What you fellas gotta know is that this guy Jesus was bad news, a danger to the community.
What did he do?
Healed the sick, cured the crippled during the Sabbath, preached good news to sinners, the odd miracles, that kind of stuff. So understandably, me and many other religious leaders weren't too happy about this. But the minute we brought it up, he started criticizing us.
Hey, tough break, pal.
Not only that, but he spent his time here on tax collectors, filthy mouth sailors, and many other undesirables. He was even known to associate with harlots.
Yeah, we talked to one of those.
Ah, so you see what I'm talking about?
Not a clue.
Well, obviously, this makes him a sinner. Oh, and get this. He said he was going to tear down a temple and rebuild it brand new.
Really? How long would that take?
3 days.
3 days? You're kidding.
Yeah, well, his Omer was a carpenter. Come to think of it, he did mention something else. He kept saying that the Son of Man must endure many things, die in 3 days and rise.
What is that supposed to mean?
Beats me. Ravings of a lunatic. Oh, anyway, he's dead now.
When did this all happen?
3 days ago? Why'd you ask?
Because his tomb was found empty this morning.
He's dead, you hear me? Dead. We killed him, and anyone who is otherwise a liar.
Why wouldn't he be dead?
That's what we're going to find out.
There was something not kosher about the priest's story. We needed to speak to the Roman governor who conducted the trial of Jesus to get to the other side of the argument. As the centurion led us to the chambers of the court, we saw Pilate coming back after another trial.
Just let me wash my hands. I'll be with you in a second.
Okay, so I feel like what the first one said could be shorter. These might have put him up to it, maybe the governor might have done it too. Why is he looking at us? I don't understand. Why is he looking? It makes sense to me. So, I feel like isn't that kind of what did you write down for that one? Because I don't really know. Why is he staring at us? I don't know why is he staring at us. I wrote him standing tall. Oh, he's ready.
Now, what is it, gentlemen?
We'd like to ask you a few questions about the trial of Jesus of Nazareth.
Very well.
Why was he brought before you, sir?
He was accused by chief Pharisees of transgressing the law.
What was his defense to the allegations of the chief priests?
Defense, he didn't say a word. He simply stood there silent.
No defense?
What was he found guilty of?
Nothing as far as I could see. They didn't bring a charge against him I found to be true.
So then why did you sentence him to crucifixion, sir?
All the people seemed to want him dead. Those chief priests and Pharisees stirred up a riot,
Sir, if I remember correctly, isn't it your custom at the Passover feast to set a condemned man free? Why wasn't this Jesus freed?
I tried to free him, but the people wouldn't hear of it. They told me to free Barabbas instead.
Barabbas? What was he accused of?
Murder. Look, gentlemen, I don't want to talk about this anymore. Speak with the priest if you have such an issue with Jesus' death.
Well, sir, it's not his death we're interested in so much as the body.
Oh, I see. You want to embalm the body or some Jewish thing like that. No, I'm sorry, but there's a number of highly trained Roman soldiers outside the tomb preventing anyone from going in. And that tomb has my own seal on it. No one goes in, no exceptions. Goodbye.
But, sir, that's just it. The body is gone.
Yes, spit it out, men.
The body has gone missing. Someone knocked out all your soldiers, rolled the boulder away from the tomb, breaking your seal, went into the tomb, stole the body, and now no one can find it. What a mess. I shouldn't be surprised if Caesar hears about this one. What?
Is this your version of breaking it to him gently?
Centurion! Yes, Governor. Bring me those soldiers whom I station outside the tomb of Jesus of Nazareth. I'd like to have a little talk with them.
It shall be done.
Now, why don't you gentlemen tell me everything you know about this stolen body?
Well, you see, sir, after the body was stolen, no one seemed to have seen or heard anything about it. The religious leaders were acting weird, and the truth is, it was most likely an angel who stole the body. I mean,
I'm not interested in the truth. I want a sensible explanation. Now go out there and find that stolen body. And when you do, report it back to me.
yes, sir.
Congratulations, gentlemen. You've just been selected to appear on the Emperor's new primetime show. Gladiators, take them away!
What are we going to do now? I don't know, but if we don't find that body soon, there's going to be one big stink.
Hey, who am I? Oh, hell me, King of the Jews.
Didn't we crucify you on Friday?
Excuse me, fellas.
Yeah?
I don't suppose you know anything about Jesus of Nazareth?
Anything? We know everything.
Everything.
Really?
Yeah.
Like what?
Okay, here it is. The court was in session, and Pilate had Jesus sent out to us to be
Flogged.
Then I saw a bush of thorns, and I said to the guys, got another good idea. I got a lot of good ideas, you understand?
Tell him about the clothes. Tell him about the clothes.
In a minute. So we made a crown of thorns out of the bush and pushed it on his head. Then somebody found a red robe and put it on him.
Then we said, "Oh, hail the king."
I'm telling the story. Then we bowed down and said, "Ah, hail the king."
Tell him about the clothes.
Oh yeah, later on, after we crucified him, I got this good idea that since he wasn't going to need the clothes, we could divide them between us.
I got this. Look, I am Caesar. Bow to Caesar.
You're going to get us in trouble.
What are you men standing around for?
Sorry, sir.
Sorry, sir.
Get back to work.
Yes, sir.
Ready? Yes, sir. Ready, sir.
Sorry, sir. We were just investigating.
You're the two detectives investigating the missing body of Jesus of Nazareth, right?
Well, yes. Do you know something about it?
I was the commanding officer present at Jesus' crucifixion.
Then I suppose you didn't approve of him.
On the contrary, I was just following orders. I myself had nothing against the man.
Well, then there's no need to feel guilty.
Be quiet and listen. I tell you, this was no ordinary man.
What do you mean?
Well, when we had put him on the cross, and all the Jews came out to mock him, a great darkness came over the land.
It usually does at nighttime.
Not right smack in the middle of the day, wise guy. Hey, where were you two anyway? How did you miss all of this?
We don't have any windows in our office.
Well, from noon to 3, the whole land was completely dark. And at 3, Jesus shouted in a loud voice, "It is finished." And then he died.
That is strange.
That's not all. And at 3, there was an earthquake, and some other very strange things happened.
What things?
If I told you and it got out, they'd say it was insane. But suffice it to say, I knew this man was surely the Son of God.
And now his body is missing.
I hope you know what you guys have gotten yourselves into.
On that sobering note, we continued our investigation. We interviewed court officials, soldiers, fishermen, tax collectors, lepers, temple guards, lawyers, and Pharisees. Each one had a different story to tell about Jesus. But instead of every person revealing another piece of the jigsaw puzzle, it was like each person opened up a whole new puzzle and tipped their pieces on the pile. Everything we found was the exact opposite of what made sense. Jesus loved God, so the religious leaders hated him. He was wiser than all the wise men, So they mocked him. He healed people's injuries. They had him whipped. He told them about life. They plotted out his death. It was all very ironic. And then there was the man himself, a complete mystery by any stretch of the imagination. One minute, he was condemning a Pharisee. The next minute, he was defending a prostitute. He avoided his religious peers in favor of making friends with the sinners of the community. There was even a report that he was seen talking to a Samaritan woman. I mean, Samaritans are bad enough, but a Samaritan woman? An adulteress at that. She had had 5 husbands and was now living with a new guy. Really? It was enough to make your stomach turn. There was only one thing I was sure of in this whole investigation. This should have been a murder case, and instead, we had been hired to look for a missing body. After hearing that Jesus had some followers a few miles outside of Jerusalem in a town called Emmaus, Cleo and I decided to check it out since we'd had no luck in Jerusalem. As we walked along the road to Emmaus, we went over the case once more.
All right, what have we got?
Nothing.
No, I mean, what are the facts?
Oh, the facts. Okay, there was a dead corpse in the tomb last Friday, sealed in by a boulder and guarded by Roman soldiers.
Pretty strange to be guarding a body. Why were they doing that?
Because the people didn't want it stolen.
What people?
The Roman governor.
Why were they worried about a body getting stolen?
He wasn't. When we talked to him, he didn't seem interested at all.
So that first guard we talked to was right. Someone must have put him up to it.
The priests.
Right. The religious heavies wanted Jesus out of the picture because all the people were turning to him when they heard the new message he preached and saw the miracles he was doing.
And that's when they decided to test him with all sorts of tricky legal allegations to see if he would slip up and give them a reason to arrest him.
Like dragging a harlot in front of him and demanding he approve of her death.
But instead, he managed to outsmart them every time. So they arrested him, dragged him into court, and brought false charges against him. But when the governor looked into their allegations, they found out that this man had never broken a single law in his entire life, which begs the question, why was he sentenced to death by crucifixion?
Which was when the priests and the Pharisees stirred up the crowd, and the governor agreed it was easier to have Jesus killed than to have a riot on his hands.
And during that time, and since Pilate wouldn't do the right thing, why not use those miraculous powers of his to save himself? After all, he did save others.
So the sky turned black, Jesus was crucified, he's taken down from the cross and buried in a tomb.
And during that time, the priests go to complain to the governor that when he was alive, he predicted that he would suffer many things, die, and then 3 days later rise. The last thing they wanted was for one of his followers to steal the body to claim that Jesus had risen from the dead. So the governor, wanting to get them out of his hair, says, okay, take a group of soldiers and make the tomb as secure as you can. So they roll a boulder in front of the tomb, seal it with the governor's ring, and post the soldiers outside.
Problem, the body goes missing, presumably stolen by a 10-foot man with a radiant glowing face.
Who no one has seen or heard of since.
And we're back to where we started.
What are you guys talking about?
Are you a tourist? You must be. To not know all the things that have happened here in the last few days
What things?
about Jesus of Nazareth?
Well, he was a prophet who was very powerful in word and in deed before God and all the people. The chief priests handed him over to the Romans to be sentenced to death, and then they crucified him.
People had hoped he would be the one to save Israel.
What's more, it's the 3rd day since this happened, and now his body has gone missing. We've heard about giant people knocking out soldiers, boulders moving, conspiracy, corrupt officials, and we haven't got a clue what's going on.
How is it you're slow of heart to believe everything the prophets have spoken about this very man? Isn't it written that the Christ would have to suffer these very things to save God's people? It has happened like Isaiah prophesies. He was despised and rejected by men. He was oppressed and afflicted, yet he did not speak in his own defense. By oppressive judgment he was cut off from the land of the living and assigned to grave with the wicked, though he had done nothing wrong. The punishment that brings us peace was on him, and by his wounds we wicked are healed. Therefore, God will prolong his days, and after the suffering of his soul, he will see the light of life.
While Cleopas and I listened, the man on the road explained to us everything that was in the scriptures concerning Jesus, who he called Christ. Starting back with Moses and working through all the prophets, we listened in amazement, and by the time he had finished, it was dark and we were at Emmaus, so we persuaded him to come eat with us.
Okay, you two stay here while I go get Thomas. I may need you to explain things to him. And hey, maybe he'll give us partial credit on the job.
I've already explained the situation to Thomas. Thank you, Father of heaven and earth, for this meal.
Tough bread. That was him! That was him!
That's why our hearts were burning within us on the road when he explained the scriptures to us.
We found him. He's real. For once in our lives, we're going to get paid.
To Jerusalem.
So with hearts pounding and minds spinning, Cleopas and I sprinted all the way back to Jerusalem. Once inside the city walls, we ran straight to Thomas's house and, not stopping to knock, we bowled in to tell him the good news.
Where is he? Thomas? Thomas? Thomas!
What do you want?
We saw him!
Who?
Jesus!
He's alive. There's no corpse.
He's risen from the dead just like he said he would.
You have to believe us.
I believe you.
We saw him.
So did I.
He's risen!
I know.
Hallelujah!
Hallelujah.
This is great.
I can't pay you.
What?
I can't pay you. 3 women claimed the reward earlier this morning. I didn't believe them at first, but when Jesus appeared to me, well, I paid them off not 20 minutes ago.
But don't we get partial credit?
Sorry, fellas, I'm all cleaned out.
It's just not fair!
There.
And with that, the mystery of the disappearing body of Jesus of Nazareth was solved. Jesus appeared to over 500 people before he ascended to heaven. Thomas became a traveling preacher, moving from place to place, telling everyone he met about the good news of Jesus Christ's resurrection. Maxwell homicide dragnet Monday Jr. decided Mother had been right and gave up the private eye business to pursue a short-lived acting career, later quitting to join Thomas in his traveling ministry. Cleopas, on the other hand, remained a detective for hire for 3 more years, during which time he hired a real secretary and encountered another missing persons case about a man called Peter, who mysteriously disappeared from a prison. But that's another story. The case of the missing dead guy. Case closed.